Post row. Alexa. Okay. She's the cutest niece in the world. Okay. Any skipping, moving away from the van for the moment and moving to bungee issues in general on the truck, any place in the van, any place. We use bungees just to lightly secure things. We absolutely, positively do not stretch the living daylights out of a bungee, because if you let it go, you could get your eye snapped out, poked out with a bungee. So anytime, look at, that's pretty easy. Anytime we hook something, in the truck even, we don't want to just jam the heck out of it with a bungee. We just lightly bungee, okay? And that's for any type of bungee, any vehicle. Okay, now we're standing at the back of the Crossroads van. Post row, this rack is a little bit different than the one we'll be using on tour. It can hold 3 bikes if you squeeze them tightly, and it's silver, but this will give you the idea. We always have 2 green bungees up here. This on tour would be a blue bungee. So we have 2 green bungees up here and 2 blue bungees. What I have done is I put zip tie loops, and I call them bungee loops, zip tie loops, so that we can all bungee a bike in the same way. Let me just show you how we wrap the bungees up when we're done. Depending on the rack, we'll all try to wrap it the same way when we're finished with the bungee, so that we all have the same hands going. This one fits, wrap around one time, bring it up and over. This one comes up and lightly bungees. If I were to go around and around, then I'm into the tight bungee thing, and it could snap. It stretches the bungees as well, and they do stretch out. So all I need to do is simply, and when I'm loading a bike, it just hangs. To close up shop, once around, and there we go. That's it. Okay. As tour goes on, we may have to do it slightly differently as the bungee stretch. Okay, so I'm at the point where I'm ready to load a bike. The blue is opened. The blue, this is blue down here on tour. There are also bungee loops down here. So we can just undo the bungees, let them hang in the ready position. Now, before I even bring the bike over, I like to prep my rack. Opening the bungees, opening the rack straps. Okay, so this way when I'm ready to load the bike, I'm free to go. Okay, so we take the bike, and we're going to load it, pick it up in the same way I was talking about before, where I grab it on the C-tube, and I'll grab it on the front fork. Okay, same deal. I'm up, and when I put it onto the van rack, it's about at my comfortable bicep level. Okay, right here. Everything's physically, we make things as easy as we can on tour. Stand by, Percy. Okay, back to my fork. Alright. Top tube can rest on the bike frame while we get the pedal squared away. What we like to... Actually, Margaret came up with a better way of doing this last year, 2 years ago. I'm sorry. Put on the very first bike that you load against the van, put the derailleur against the van. This is the derailleur and the chain. Derailleur and the chain. So Margaret had the good idea of doing that. Okay. Same way, picking it up. I'll just rest it here for the moment. Okay. So the derailleur is against the van, and the reason we do that, or Margaret came up with that, is because if we load another bike onto it, the derailleur won't get damaged and it won't scratch the other bike. Now what I'd like to do is get the pedal in a position where it's not going to whack my car. And I've done that by putting it at the license plate. The vans will be different, and it also depends on what, if you're loading a second bike, where it will fit with that second bike. Okay, so right now the bike is just resting in the ready position, resting to go. So next step is, I'm always grabbing it the same way, and just make that your habit. You're less likely to hurt your back too. We're going to set the top tube into the rack. This rack needs to be adjusted slightly because it's a bigger bike. Come out slightly. Here we go.
Excuse me, Jalen.
Okay. Remember, host row, this is not the exact rack we're using, so I have to make this small adjustment. Okay. Okay, so the bike is now sitting in the rubber feet. We're going to tighten it. We don't have to get crazy tightening it. Okay? It's the same idea as with the bungee loops. Because then, when I'm tired and cranky at the end of the day, and I'm trying to get it off and I can't. So, right there is barely stretched. One more is nice. It's tight. It's not overkill. Same thing here. We're just going to go to the second one. And we fit it onto the knob. Okay. I still have my blue bungees at the ready, waiting. Okay. They're hanging there. They're both hanging there. The green, which would be blue on tour, is hanging down here as well. Okay. Next step is, Paul, why don't you stand that way? We should all be doing this part the same way, and that's the point of the bungee loops, and it makes it so much easier. We've, Rick, Pat, and I have all developed this over the years, and it's just worked well. Okay, we're going to reach over the top tube. Okay, over the top tube to get the bungee. Okay, and we bring it back over the top tube towards us. Okay, give it a little tug. Then we go under the front side of the rack, the bar. Can you see that? And we hook it. Okay. Then I like to just kind of, I like to take the bungee and stretch it in two directions. Make sure that it's the tension is fairly well distributed over the bungee. Not super important. Let me do that again. Release it. Up and over. Okay. So the blue bungee is at the ready. I'm going up and over the top tube to get the blue bungee. I'm coming straight back over the top tube. Give a pull. I'm going straight down, under, and hook.
Excellent.
And so what that does is you're connecting two parts of the bungee to the actual rack, and you're coming over the top of the head tube. Top tube. Thule, the rack manufacturers do not say we should bungee. I do it for two reasons. Because we've seen bungee straps break on tour. And again, this is over 15 years. Stuff happens. I've seen things happen. And that's the only reason. And it also makes riders feel a little more comfortable. We're taking a little more care. Okay, now, so we've got the top one done. Cross the top tube, cross the top tube. Now we're going to go for the bottom one. And it's the same deal. This would be the blue. It's the same deal. It's hanging at the ready. Okay, it's just hanging there. I'm going through the wheel to get it. I'm going through the wheel to get it. So I go through two wheels, and I grab the hooks, and same thing. I come back toward me. This one's a little shorter. I put one extra knot. Now, I'm coming back. This is too tight. I should take out one knot. And I hook it. Now, right now, that hook is right on the frame. Riders don't like to see that. And I don't either. So what we'll do is, we will move the bungee. Get a little more out of this. Okay, we'll move the bungee so that it's not touching the bike, or as little as possible. Okay. This is much easier with the regular blue bungees. Okay, and I've adjusted the tension so that one part is not super tight and the other part's loose. And you wouldn't think that could happen on a bungee, but it does. Okay, let me do that one more time. So, I've prepped my bungees before I even put the bike on. I've done my top one. Now I'm coming down to do the wheels. Go through the wheel, get the bungee, go through the wheel, get the bungee, come straight back toward me, hook, adjust this so that it's not on their frame. Excuse me. Oh, that's why. There we go. Okay. Now, what this does is two things. It keeps the front wheel from spinning, and that gives the rider some comfort when they're in the van riding, and they don't, you know, I'm not keen on seeing my wheel spin, and it's just a visual. It doesn't hurt anything, but and it just also keeps it from flopping too much. Okay. So now to take, okay, let me load a second bike.